There is a specific memory that stays locked in my mind, heavy and dark. It is the moment I destroyed my marriage during a single evening at an office celebration. My husband, Aaron, is a deeply quiet and caring partner. He is the kind of man who always pays attention to the small details, like making sure my coffee is exactly how I like it. He only came to this corporate event because I begged him to join me, even though he hates crowded, noisy rooms. But lately, his peaceful nature had started to make me feel bored. I wanted some excitement. That is why I kept looking at Caleb. Caleb is my coworker, a man who is incredibly charming, bold, and very thrilling too. The party was incredibly loud, the overhead lighting was bright, and the alcohol was flowing very quickly. I had specifically chosen a dress that I knew would catch Caleb's eye, and it worked exactly as planned. He leaned in close and whispered that I looked absolutely stunning, which made my head spin with excitement. I kept telling myself that it was just innocent fun, that simple flirting did not harm anyone. Right across the room, I could see Aaron standing by himself, with his hands in his pockets, wearing his usual kind, supportive smile. He was just happy to watch me enjoy myself. Yet I completely ignored him. I turned my back on my husband and focused all my attention on Caleb, laughing loudly and constantly. As the conversation continued, Caleb began teasing me about how hard I worked. He suggested that I was basically carrying the entire department on my own shoulders. I wanted to keep the playful mood going and impress the people standing around us. So I laughed way too loud and made a terrible joke. I told everyone that someone had to find a way to make my husband interesting. A few coworkers laughed, and I joined in, trying to seem clever. But the moment those words left my mouth, the entire room seemed to turn freezing cold. I turned around and saw Aaron standing right behind me. He had heard every single word, and his face showed an expression I had never seen before in life. There was no anger or sadness in his eyes, just an icy, sharp look that made my stomach sink instantly. He walked toward me very slowly, and Caleb immediately took a step back, sensing the danger. Aaron looked directly at me and softly asked if that was really all he was to me. My throat felt completely dry, and I tried to laugh it off as a harmless joke, but the words would not form. The entire room went dead silent as everyone stopped talking and stared directly at us. I quickly whispered for him to stop, but he finished my sentence for me, stating that I was mocking him just to impress a man who would never care about me when things got difficult. I reached out to touch his arm, but he pulled away from me, and that sudden gesture hurt worse than a physical strike. His expression hardened completely, and he whispered that if I wanted to see something interesting, he would show me. He pulled out his phone and raised it, stating that loyalty only exists if a person actively chooses it. I begged him to talk in private, but he ignored my pleas. He addressed the entire crowd, explaining that I simply craved shallow attention to feel valued. He said I constantly forgot that the people who offer quick praise are never the ones who stand by you when life gets hard, while he had been quietly supporting us both for so many long years. Tears began to burn in my eyes as his words pierced through my pride. He looked right at me and said I did not want a true marriage, but only an audience to watch me. I cried out that he was being unfair, but he replied that pretending to love someone you do not respect is what is truly unfair. Caleb tried to step in, telling Aaron he was taking things too far, but Aaron spun around instantly and shut him down. He told Caleb not to flatter himself because he was just the spark for a fire that was already burning. Then, Aaron slowly took his wedding band off his finger and set it on the table with a quiet, solid, heavy, devastating tap. He told me that this action would bring clarity for both of us. My knees felt weak, and I asked if he was leaving me. Aaron shook his head calmly and said he was actually letting me walk away from the false version of him that I had built. He declared that he was finished begging for tiny scraps of affection from someone who tossed love around like confetti to strangers. He told me that if I wanted excitement so badly, I should go and find it because he would no longer stand in my way. He wished me a good night, turned around, and walked completely out of the building. His exit was not rushed or loud. He simply walked away and was gone. The absolute silence that filled the room after his departure was the loudest thing I had ever experienced. Gradually, people went back to whispering and pretending they had not seen the disaster unfold, but the heavy atmosphere remained. Caleb tried to step closer to comfort me, but I immediately pushed him away, realizing how pointless he was. A terrifying realization settled deep in my chest. I had not just embarrassed my quiet husband in public. I had completely transformed him and awakened a cold, detached side of him that I never knew existed. In my search for brief, meaningless thrills, I had permanently destroyed my relationship with the only person in this world who had ever truly loved me with all his good, honest heart.